and welcome to another episode of To Be Perfectly Honest, Watchmen Edition. And today we're talking about episode 4. And with me, as always, I have Eric, and I'm Corey. And we're talking about the latest and greatest episode of Watchmen. Now, last episode, Eric, we both agreed. Pretty much awesome. Like,
it was a good one. Yeah.
10 out of 10 guarantee. This one, definitely a little bit different. I won't
weird,
say...
man.
We had a lot of like exposition happen, right? We kind of had like the after effects of everything. We didn't follow a specific character this time, which I'm all for. That's cool. We get a lot of weird stuff. We got a lot of stuff with Ozymandias that
it was a strange one.
Real weird.
But also, I'm still into it. Like after episode 3, I was happy with my time. Like I was like, I'm gonna watch the whole series. Like especially after episode 3. But this one, it just got strange, and I'm okay with how weird it is, but definitely weird.
Yeah, 100%. This one is titled, If You Don't Like My Story, You Can Write Your Own. And we definitely open with a bang, literally. We have Lady True, who we're introduced to. Very weird character. She looks like she's almost dressed like a Vulcan or something. Has the gloves on, very unique haircut. She comes in and she's like, here is the timetable. In the next 3 minutes, you are going to sell me all of your property. And they're like, why would we do that? She's like, you know what? Essentially, I know you came in, you tried to have a kid. It didn't work out.
Well, I did want to say in the beginning, the visual storytelling of these two being a really nice family, and they obviously love each other. Yeah, it's like, that she's selling eggs, and then she drops them, and they... you can tell that they obviously really love each other.
Totally.
Just from 2 minutes of screen time.
Yeah.
And I thought that was kind of cool. Very wholesome.
Totally. And then we have this lady come in, knock in the middle of the night, like, hey, I'm going to make you an offer you can't refuse.
Essentially.
Totally strong arm you, and ethically, holy crap. She basically clones their baby without their knowledge. And then it's like, oh, well, I could just murder him. She's like, just kidding. I wouldn't do that. But I would definitely give him up for adoption. You'd never know where he was.
Yeah. Find a living home, but
okay.
Yeah.
We find out the reason why she's wanting this property is because there is a certain impact that's going to happen. And this ends up being the future site basically of the Millennium Tower. Even through this episode, we ever figure out really what this is. What crashed Earth? Why? What is really the Millennium Tower? We know it's a clock of some sort, but there's something more to that.
Probably the biggest mystery so far is what the hell crashed there.
Exactly. And why did she know that? And what's going on with this organization? Basically, what we haven't talked about yet is, Lady True is essentially, she is the successor to Ozymandias' company. So Ozymandias flashed out of existence. Our theory from last episode is essentially he's in this prison, either on Mars or some other planet, or maybe it's in another dimension. We think it's Dr. Manhattan. Let's put him there, but he's gone. And this has happened a while ago. Lady True has either been a partner for this. She's decided, hey, I'm going to take over. Maybe she's an outside investor. Whatever reason, she takes over the company. And one of her first things she's doing is taking this property, figuring out what's going on. And we have this younger daughter, let's say. And she's with her from even this part. And we know this is a couple years ago, right? Because the tower hasn't even been completed.
Yeah, true.
And we see later in this episode that this tower is actually near completion. It's almost done. So really interesting way to open it. Still, even after the episode's finished, I don't really know where we're going with this, right?
Yeah, it's... this is one of those... this reminds me of episode 1 and 2, where there's way more questions than answers.
We were due for that. We got a lot of answers in the last one. So totally.
But I'm okay with it because the questions are so interesting that I'm totally okay. This is a show that reminds me of season 4. I think I've said this before, but early Game of Thrones where you don't know where it's gonna go. All you want to do is talk about it. That's what Watchmen is for me.
100%.
Right now. So it's these are not bad things. No. It's just the only bad thing is this old garbage release structure. I want all my episodes.
I want it now.
Yeah, I want it. I would be done by now. I'd be done. I don't have them all.
100%.
Yeah. So
we have in this last one, so we got to remember where we were last episode. So basically, Angela was introduced to Lori Blake, who used to be Silk Spectre, and she's onto her trail of like, there's something sus going on here. Like, I need to figure it out. And so we have Angela's like, okay, I need to go in. I need to get rid of all this freaking evidence. So she goes into her undercover bakery shop. She's scrubbing everything down. She's cutting up this wheelchair into little pieces so she can deal with it. And she comes across, this letter that we saw from the first episode, even, right? From Will. This is passed down from his dad when he was fighting over in Germany. That the Germans, flew down propaganda basically saying, hey, the United States government doesn't care about you. His dad wrote on it, save this child. He went with him when the Tulsa riots happened. He's carried it with him this entire time. And she's now looking at it like, what the heck is this? She gets this call and she's like, you know what? I need to figure out what the hell's going on with this. So yeah, she finishes cleaning up, but then her first idea is like, hey, I'm going to break into the Cultural Heritage Center. So she's like, hey, you guys got to set an alarm in the Cultural Heritage Center? Oh, yeah, I think there's someone there. Bam, breaks into it. Yeah, as if we don't have cameras. Like, but okay.
Yeah.
I'll believe it.
Well, like, I think for something like this, maybe they won't check them, or maybe they won't have them, or, I thought it was kind of like a smart way to preemptively break in. Yeah. I don't
There's
know.
really nothing there.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not like there's really that much of value, so maybe they don't have it.
I think they just want to have like some way of addressing it, but then maybe if you look into it, it doesn't make sense, but at the same time, okay, it moves the story forward. It moves the story forward.
Right. So she goes in, she finds out that they did figure out, her family tree. They have this cool little kitschy thing where they're like, oh, it's an acorn, like to grow your little family tree. So she pops in the little tube and
it's very
all of a
cinematic.
sudden she grows her tree. And we find out that basically like, hey, we do know who her mother and father were. But the grandfather on her, I think it's her father's side, is not known. But then they're like, but we do think we know who his mother and father are. And they go through and then they're like, oh, but we did find a picture. And they do this cool little moment where it like looks exactly like her. We're like, okay, confirmed, it is her, whatever. We don't get really anything else, right? So this family tree, while we don't confirm, yes, this is her grandfather, there's no dubious thing going on, but we don't know anything about him. There's no records for him, which is even more so.
She had that moment where it was like, you're gonna like beat me, like get the fuck out of my life or something like that. Like I forget what specifically she said, but it just kind of, can you imagine like seeing like the little kid version of what he is?
No.
And, it's just the technology. It's so interesting seeing what they make good, like the technology that's more advanced than us and the technology that is not. It's just kind of a cool way.
Oh, 100%. 100%. So then we go outside and very, very like strategically, we are right outside the Cultural Heritage Center, which is right where the phone booth to Dr. Manhattan is, where we have Lori Blake, who was just here this last episode, who walks out, gets the car dropped on her. That's Angela's car, which happens to be right outside where the Cultural Heritage is. It's like bingo, bango, bingo, bingo, bango.
Yeah.
Like
all the conveniences or coincidences or
right in
planning.
Downtown Tulsa, Oklahoma.
Yeah.
So we have Lori's like, oh, weird. This car tried to kill me. And she's like, well, actually, it's my car. Kind of weird, I know. She's like, oh, what? Like, this makes no fucking sense. Then we find these pills. So these pills are in this glove box. At first, I'm like, oh, are these her pills? Like, I had no idea. I guess these are left here by Will, right? And we have Angela's like trying to hide them. And Lori's like, oh, what are those? And she's like, oh, nothing. Yeah.
Yeah, just trying
Not
to play
a
them
big
off.
deal.
Yeah.
Like, no, she's gonna notice, but what can you do? So they part ways, and basically we have Angela goes and she sees Looking Glass, and Looking Glass is in his place. He definitely has this like crazy kind of he's developing photos. We find out he's looking into kind of the squid fall and what's going on. We talk about how they only live for like 30 seconds, that they're supposedly from an interdimension, that's coming over. Which is definitely goes back to the comics and like how the ending happened. So I'm guessing, this is all confirmed. This is all still happening. He's looking further into it though, right? So maybe he's kind of on the trail of like Ozymandias kind of fabricated this, you know?
Potentially.
Which we also,
I don't know. I think, you never know.
but we also have Rorschach's General where this is all spelled out that this is all fake, right?
I mean,
yeah.
So people should know that this was, you have this crazy thing that we've seen from the episode where like no one gives a shit about him.
Yeah.
But you would think people would like believe it, maybe at least some people, maybe, you get the right wing media, kind of, like the equivalent of that. Yeah, or whatever.
They don't have a YouTube right now, so they're fucked. Right?
Oh, yeah. So maybe it's not as accessible.
Yeah.
So it's hard to say what the general consensus
There's
is.
no Drudge Report.
Yeah. It's so I think it's kind of cool that I just like that they're talking about this and how it just randomly gets brought up, like, oh yeah, he's just looking into the squid thing, like, because
Yeah.
I think that would be normal if we had random squid falls.
Oh,
it's like, you imagine
100%.
it's like
I'd be all
hey,
into that.
why are you late for work? And it's like, oh dude, you wouldn't imagine, dude, squids everywhere.
Seriously.
Like, oh, okay. It's just like it would be totally normal for them.
Well, speaking of being totally normal, then in the next breath, she's like, oh, yeah, by the way, like the chief, yeah, I found his secret little closet thing. Yeah, here's his robes. He's a Klansman.
Yeah.
And he's like, well, I mean, he is a white man in Oklahoma. Like, he's barely fazed by this, but he's like, okay, yeah, whatever. She also shows him these pills, and she's like, hey, you got to get these pills looked at. I know your ex. She's like, she's into that kind of stuff. She can figure out what's the biochemistry of it.
Yeah, I just feel like she would question that more because, like, they obviously had a really good relationship, and she's just sees that and doesn't, because, like, didn't he bring up that it could have been like an ancestry thing? Like, it could be like his grandpa.
Yeah,
He brought that up, right? Yeah, and so, like, you would think that would be one of your first reactions if you're seeing that and you've had a multiple year relationship. He's treated you very well. I don't know, but who am I to say, because the race thing is just not my place to talk about.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, and so it's like maybe it is pretty fucked up. Like, I can see it. The first initial emotional reaction would be like, "What the fuck?"
Yeah. Well, I mean, she obviously hasn't been just like, "Fuck him."
Yeah. She hasn't been like that. Yeah, which is also true. But at the same time, she seemed like, because like she was like, "Well, he's also a racist," and then boom, So I don't know. I feel like having that on your mantle in a very impractical way of putting it on, it doesn't really say that you're trying to wear it. Yeah. So I don't know. Well, I guess we'll see what the show decides what he was. But
seriously,
when I see that, and you're like, that's the first thing you see, but you've had this like long relationship with the guy, you would think you would get an idea of who he was. Just one piece. I would hope one piece of clothing doesn't throw that all away.
Like, does his wife know?
Yeah.
Like, whatever.
She didn't bring it up with him. Yeah.
I mean, and I think we had talked about this in earlier episodes, but like, is this a big reason of why like he's so wealthy? Like he has a huge place.
Yeah, it was really nice. Yeah.
I would not think that would be just because, oh, hey, yeah, you're the head of the police department. Like, yeah, I think you have a nice house, but like that's a mansion.
Yeah, it's really nice. It's like a little too nice. I would say a lot of too nice.
I don't know. And there's a lot of guards there. Like, he almost seems like he's the senator, right?
Yeah. He had that appearance of, it's like, hey, watch, come through. People would ask him, and he'd be like,
yeah,
I'm good. I'll go by myself.
So she decides she's gonna get rid of that evidence once and for all. So she dumps it into a junk trunk. But someone's watching her.
Oh yeah,
Weirdo.
This is so strange.
Weird. Oh, essentially he is in the silver spandex suit and he is running from her. He takes a left turn, a right turn, a left turn, a right turn, and then right on his sides he has 2 bottles of vegetable oil, squirts himself, and then slides through the sewer grate. Never to be seen again. Like, what would you do if you came across that?
What? Well,
I would feel like I was going insane.
Well, yeah, that, and then also like I wouldn't. To be me personally, I wouldn't chase a person like that. I wouldn't. But
no.
Yeah, and so like she chased him around. Like I was waiting for that whole thing where it's like chase, and then she comes through and gets hit with something. Like that's what I was expecting.
Totally.
But then what? Like vegetable oil slides into a sewer, and now he's in the sewer. Like.
Yeah, and like, where does the sewer go?
Yeah, but why are you wearing that?
What you didn't have a photo? You didn't have a camera.
Yeah,
like that, and there's a bag.
Yeah, and then also you could have just. That was the most like standout uniform period.
Literally, how did you not see him?
Yeah. Like, how about you just wear something normal? Yeah, it's just very bizarre. This whole scene was bizarre. I think the exit was cool. I'm curious to see him again. Maybe I don't know.
I want to know too. Just like, would this work?
I don't know. It's a
I don't
very.
either, but it
Can
kind
you
of
imagine
weirds me
practicing
out.
this? Can you imagine practicing?
No, because you would get stuck
Yeah,
practicing it because you want to get it down right?
yeah,
And you get stuck in a sewer grate
yeah. I don't know. It
or storm
looks
drain.
it looks good. It's one of
We
those
all
things.
float down here.
Yeah, and then now, like, do you need to know the sewer system too? Where it's like, man, I can't go down this street
Yeah, and
because
like,
that
why
one is a
doesn't she
big
just?
drop.
She could literally just have picked up that sewer grate, right?
I don't know.
And gone down there.
I couldn't care less. There would have to be a damn good reason.
I mean,
Like,
how?
it's just
Yeah,
like, hey, man, you win this
good on
round.
you.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. If you're willing to go through those steps,
Note that
you
for
know,
later.
yeah,
I know. And the entire time, like, why does he have these bottles on his side?
yeah. I
Oh,
remember
okay.
like questioning it. It's like, so what? So what? Oh, yeah. Just all right.
Interesting.
You win that way. I just think it's one of those, like, you tip your cap, you did it. You're
Right.
willing to spray yourself with vegetable oil, and that's your
Exactly.
yeah.
So then she heads back to precinct to be like, you are not gonna believe what the fuck I just saw. Runs into Senator, and he is basically like, I know who you are.
Hey,
You don't need
what's
to
it
wear your thing. It's
for
okay.
me? For me, when I watch this, his name is Senator. What's it? Do you know his name?
Keen.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
I think.
yeah. You're right. Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, he definitely is sus. Especially because like this is from what we figured out, right? What he told Lori is that he came up with all these kind of protocols, right? And he's telling her straight up, like, you should just show your face. I mean, just show your face. I mean, it's not a big deal. I know who you are. Whatever. In front of these other agents, in front of other people, and it's like 100% like, no, we should not be doing this. She denies it, and she's just like, okay, yeah. I'm gonna work with you, but like,
She
I
was
know.
like, oh, am I not supposed to know that? Yeah.
Well, and
yeah.
he was also like this at the funeral there too, right? And it's
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
you know a lot, and that's cool, but you're way too casual about it to be a good guy.
Yeah,
in my
it's
opinion.
I have a whole bunch of flags going on.
yeah.
I think a lot of people think that he's more than meets the eye.
100%.
For sure. Yeah.
So then we find out basically that the thing that dropped the car is essentially got to be a flying machine, right? And the only flying machine besides these owls, which we conveniently don't talk about, that the police force used,
Yeah.
which I must say too, also in that episode, I think it was the first episode or second episode when we had that flying machine.
I think it was the first.
I was under the impression there was a lot more of them, but like literally we have not seen another one since then. So I guess maybe there's just one per precinct because they're really expensive or whatever. But they figure out, hey, you know what else uses this? The things that make the Millennium Tower. They're drones, essentially. They're going around, they're having magnetic things, lifting them up. They can lift a car.
Yeah.
They were flying around that time. Cool. So they decide, Lori, Petey, and Angela, we're going to pop in the car and go. Then we have this awkward road trip scene, right? Where essentially
Super
it's
awkward.
like
Yeah.
they're like kind of fighting a little bit back and forth, and Petey gets in the middle of it. And Angela's like, yeah, you know what, Petey? Tell him what happened. Tell him why I got into this. He's like, well, essentially, like, her father raped her mother.
Yeah.
So obviously, if you've watched any of the Watchmen movie or the comics, you already know this. But it's really awkward on scene.
Yeah, it's
Like,
super awkward. But I do like that they're touching on this for people that are just trying to watch the show.
you get a little bit of everything.
Yeah, because the way I look at it is, when it comes to superhero shows, there's been, 30 of them in the past 10 years. And all of them have set the precedent that you do not need to watch the comics. And so when I saw the first couple episodes, and I know about the Watchmen universe, I didn't watch it, but like I'd watch a whole bunch of YouTube videos on this universe.
Yeah.
It's like, I was like, is this one of the first comic book things that is requiring me to watch this?
Yeah, which is ridiculous.
Yeah. Whereas they are trickling in information if you're willing to go with it. Yeah.
Totally. It helps. It builds the world a little bit. Even if you do a little bit of research on it, like we both have.
Yeah.
But I think definitely it's a slow burn. You definitely have to like stick around with it. I don't think they're holding your hand. Like you're not getting everything in the first episode because that's just not good storytelling. But we're definitely getting more and more, and we're getting these three-dimensional characters. The last episode we really said was a Lori-centric episode, right? We're getting even more characterization for her. So she's not a flat character, right? She doesn't just have one episode where you're like, oh yeah, we got it. It's like, here's a little bit more, and this is how it ties into Angela, and we have Petey, and remember the last episode she was sleeping with Petey, and that's kind of weird. And then but he also knows this. Like, it's just definitely three-dimensional.
I like how no character is all good or all, everyone everyone makes sense. They're all human,
Yeah.
and I like that. Like they're not trying to tell me who the bad guys are. They're not trying to tell
Let
me.
me decide that for myself.
Yeah.
100%. And maybe I won't even know. Right.
Yeah. Well, because everything is a moral conundrum in this, and everything's about flipping it, and so it's like.
Oh, we're not going to know what we
Yeah,
think until the very end.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And
100%. And probably after that, we won't know.
Yeah, and all of it's going to be subjective. It's going to be like, who is, like, well, what do we think about any of this? So I think that's cool.
So what we're doing is basically we're going to this Millennium Tower, right? So we go in, and here again, we are introduced to this little girl. And at this point, I think we all think, oh, yeah, like, this is her daughter. Like, okay, cool. Interesting. She's like very eclectic and interesting, and seems like she's running the business also with her mom. And they're like, oh, we need a list of anyone who could operate this. And all the employees are kind of like, oh, you're not going to be able to get that. And she's like, oh, yeah, here, no problem. But my mother would also like to request you to come up and see her and have tea. They're like, oh, okay, that's weird. So they go up and we meet Lady True. And essentially we find out that she made a promise with her mother. She's from Vietnam, and that she would never leave Vietnam, and so she kind of cheated by bringing a piece of Vietnam with her. So she has this kind of arboretum where it's basically all these native plants, and the environment is just like Vietnam. And it's kind of like her own little paradise in the middle of Tulsa, Oklahoma. Really, really interesting. She gets the information, and then we also have this weird exchange where she's like, yes, we have a saying in Vietnamese, maybe you know it. And then she's like, your grandfather wants you to know if you got the pills. And she's like, tell that old fucker.
Yeah.
He can ask me himself. Because seriously, what the fuck?
I thought that was a good scene. Like, it's just it was very Angela, how you've set up Angela.
Yeah.
And then that's exactly what you would say.
Totally.
So it was great.
I remember after this, I paused it and I was like, yeah, she did that.
Yeah.
Like,
you
man.
tell him. Yeah.
Right.
So I thought it was great too. Yeah, I completely agree.
We also have a couple things in here that are really interesting. We have a statue of Ozymandias, right? So this to me definitely signifies that we have more going on. At first, when I was introduced to the character of Lady True, I thought that maybe she was just really a savvy investor and she was taking over, and that she really had no idea about the business, but she was kind of like just a really, an opportunistic person.
Yeah.
But I think from this, we can definitely like agree that she either had something to do with the company or she had been an investor before, and that's why she came into this.
She definitely has ulterior motives. She has some respect for Ozymandias, and there's unfinished business there, and
100%.
And so she didn't just pick this company because it was the right business move.
No.
It was because of him, and that's why she
I feel
puts
like
him on
some
there.
of the ideals and maybe like the guidelines and the leadership that he came up with, she's willing to follow because she knew where everything is supposed to go, right? I feel like if anything, if we see Ozymandias come back from wherever he's at, in this prison, I feel like she's gonna be in on it, right?
Yeah.
But I could be wrong.
I can definitely see that.
Maybe she's the one that put him there. I don't know, but she's weird as well. She has gloves on the entire time.
She is very, very peculiar. She gives me the same vibes as the senator does. Just like you come off not do you come off like shady, but you come off like in a bad shady.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like,
well, we also have this weird stuff about her daughter, but before we get to that, we basically flash back, speaking of Ozymandias, and we see him, and Veidt is on this boat in this really crazy scene. It's the middle of the night, and there's lanterns everywhere, and he's basically like, it looks like he's crab fishing, right? He's pulling up these crab boxes, and inside are fetuses.
yeah, like actual babies.
Actual babies. He's like sexing the babies, and then like, oh, no, that's not the one we want. Fucking
It was
tosses one over.
It was like going full Sparta, where it's like, not good enough. See ya.
Seriously.
Yeah, and just chucking
crazy.
them. Yeah.
Then we have him. He goes back. He puts them in this contraption. Basically, it just rotates around. I have no idea what it does, but essentially, it does make them grow older. And it turns out to be these servants, right? So this is the answer of like, are they clones? Well, I mean, I guess technically they're not clones, right? They're just regenerative of the prison environment. And he goes into a river and finds them. I don't know how he knew that, if that was told him to begin with. If they just naturally like crawl out of the river and they're like, oh, I guess I'm going to be a person.
Yeah. There's a lot of stuff they don't answer, but it does kind of give you an idea of where they come from, I guess.
Well, and we also get our like obligatory penis shot because
Yeah.
every other episode we have to have that. I mean, it is Watchmen,
There you go. I mean,
to make up
you
for
gotta-
no Dr. Manhattan,
You got to check the box.
right?
Yeah.
They're like legitimately not able to do anything. Like they can barely walk. He's like, I'm gonna tell you how it is. You're a piece of shit. You're gonna serve me. Don't even think about anything. Your God has abandoned you. Blah 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 blah. You're like, okay. Then we see this massacre that has happened, and
Yeah.
I just want to know, like, what the heck? Did he just go on a bender? Like, he had one too many? He's like, you know what? I'm going to go extra murderous. Instead of just, like, catapulting you guys, I'm just going to stab you guys all to death. Because it's literally ingrained.
Yeah. He just killed them all. And I didn't know how to feel about this. Because he goes, like, I had a rough night. But they didn't really touch on this at all.
I kind of got the feeling that, like, maybe his plan didn't go the way it was supposed to. And he was like, I'm starting completely over.
Well, because he every single time we've seen him, he gets frustrated, and how he takes it out on them is like really abusive and really nasty. But we didn't see what went wrong there, and so because he was like mad that the suit got all frozen, and so that kind of makes sense. He's just kind of garbage, but at the same, but you get why he's frustrated and what he's frustrated at, whereas we don't know what happened then. Like what he's trying to set up that failed. If we're trying to go over his past.
Yeah, 100%. So I don't have him in here, but essentially the last couple scenes, the way we have True's basically clone is what we figure out. She's having these dreams, right? She comes up and she's like, Mom, I can't sleep. And she's like, what were you dreaming of? And she's like, oh, I was in Vietnam and I was walking through the forest and I woke up and my feet hurt. It's like very clear, like these are memories coming back, right?
Yeah.
This ties back to the very beginning that we had where she's talking about the couple and she gives them the baby, right? She's cloning this baby. So we know this is a technology that happens. And we're like, oh man, like this is kind of crazy. And then we realize that she's actually talking to Will. And Will is Angela's father, or grandfather rather, that has been out. So we know now that the organization he's with is somehow tied to Lady True, that he is now here. And then we actually have him walking around.
Yeah.
And we're getting the feeling that like he is tied not only to this genetic memory kind of thing that's going on with her clone daughter, what's going on with Angela, and what's going on whatever behind the scenes, possibly connected to Ozymandias now. We got a lot going on. So
there's
really
a lot
interesting.
A lot of super interesting. I think it's kind of cool that I'm really curious what he's trying to do, because she was questioning his like allegiance, or like that he was being being too soft on Angela, and then he was like, hey, what I gotta do, like you're gonna know I'm all in.
Yeah.
And so I wonder what that means. What does all in mean? And then seeing this still doesn't explain how Judd is dead. I'm really
Why?
Why would you kill him? Like, what's their goal here? How do they tie into Seventh Cavalry? It's just,
and who is not happy with the status quo? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because really, right now we have a relatively pretty peaceful time.
Well, I mean, there's so much tension between Seventh Cavalry and
a whole lot of tension.
Yeah,
but everyone we look at right now, right? We look at Lady True. She doesn't seem to have any motivation for like inciting this racial match.
Well, she could just go through the whole like, hey, I'm so above this, like literally a trillionaire,
right?
But like, and why is Tulsa such a hotbed for like you get the reputation and stuff like that? I guess it makes it like a lot of people move there.
Yeah.
So I guess that makes sense. It's just there's so many like,
it's got to be this millennium power of why we're here, right?
Yeah.
Like why we're zooming into this and why
I think
everything makes sense.
A lot of it has to do with what landed.
Yeah, totally.
Because like that's the one thing that's forcing it to be here, is that it landed for some reason right here. And
I wonder what it is. And we don't know yet. We have had literally no idea.
Yeah, and it just pisses me off. The only thing that bothers me about this show is that I have to wait. We have what episode 4? We have 9 episodes total. It's so frustrating. So
I mean, at the end, it's a good problem to have, right?
Yeah, it's great. This is like the best and worst thing at the same time. Because like, there's been so many shows where I'm like, I don't care. This is garbage.
Yeah.
And so it means it's a good show, at least for me. But it is frustrating because they it leans so far into the mystery and
Yeah.
not giving you answers.
Yeah.
So, all right,
I
that's my take on it.
You 10 cents on it.
Oh.
I 100% agree. I do think that this one is definitely a step in the right direction. There's a lot of questions. The whole part with Ozymandias was just so weird. I mean,
For real,
it reminds me of the first couple of them where I was like, what the hell is going on? Like,
he
you're
gets
just
weirder
like,
and weirder.
what the hell? Now we know he has clones, or, we have the same people generating over and over again. We know he's doing experiments to try to get out. My question is what is he going to do when he gets out? And like, he's obviously a murderer, like he's gone insane.
Yeah.
Like, back in the novel and in the movie, it's like, okay, he sacrificed for the greater good, but like yeah, he like set off a bomb, but like he wasn't like literally out there like stabbing everyone like 100,000 times.
It seems like he killed people for like pragmatic reasons. Like he killed the comedian for a reason. He killed 3 million people for a reason. Whereas now it's like a mild inconvenience, and he's, you know what?
And he's essentially in paradise too.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, that's
not,
the
though.
last thing for paradise for me. Like, you got 2 people that are quote unquote servants that are just kind of idiots. Like, that does not sound like a paradise at all.
True.
Yeah.
This is very true. I don't know. It doesn't sound horrible either at the same time. Like, if you knew, hey, I brought peace to the world, and you're like, I can live my days here doing this. I don't know. Like, especially for someone like him, who's like, obviously, like, I don't care about really anybody, right? Like, he doesn't go out with the common man and like, oh yes, I respect your opinion.
Yeah, really true. Like, so I don't know. I think he, because he looks up to Alexander the Great and stuff like that. So it's like, I think he sees himself as someone that's going to accomplish something, and so being stuck on an island and living out your days is like literally hell to him. And so, at the same time,
I think he's gonna get out.
He definitely
seems like he's gonna get out.
Can you imagine if they go full subversive and then they just kill his ass? Like, that'd be the worst. I would be so mad. That'd be the worst storytelling. Period. I need a good.
Don't speak it into existence.
Yeah. I need a good reason why because for me he's the most interesting part.
Yeah,
he's awful, but he's one of the most interesting parts of the comic, and he's also the most interesting part of this show. And so
I feel like a lot of the reason is like he makes the sci-fi, right? Otherwise, it would just be like an interesting, like, I guess it technically would still be sci-fi with like superheroes, but like, you know what I mean? A lot of it is more just like you have this tension and drama. If you took the superhero aspect of it out, this would just be like an interesting like crime drama, right? But then we have fetuses pulling out of the river.
Yeah. Well, but he's, out of all these superheroes and stuff like that, he's the only one that seems to be going like successful, I guess. Like he's, all the other ones they're just making fun of, whereas he's like actually trying to make an impact, and he's going above like crime fighting, and he's trying to like solve bigger scale issues.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I'm just really stoked for the next episode. That's about it.
I want to see how Lady True ties into this, why she has a clone, what the hell Will's doing, and what is Ozymandias going to do when he gets out? Because he's got a plan.
So many threads. Like, when
he's going to
break him down
and be like,
when you break him down like that, I'm like, five or six storylines going on. Like, I feel like this is very,
and I'm sure I've missed them.
Like, and there's like a whole like there's people gonna be commenting. It's like, what? Like, the best thing is this.
Yeah.
And I don't blame you, because there's so many things going on that I don't even mind missing him. This is probably the first show I've ever actually watched the 7 things you missed on this show, because probably I did. I'm
100%.
I'm totally okay with that.
I did not watch it 7 times.
Yeah. So
I might later, depending on how it ends.
Yeah, if it ends well, then I might rewatch it. But if they drop the ball, then this will be a big letdown.
But I can say, like, right now, I'm definitely along for the ride, and I think it's great. I'm still thinking, though, this next couple episodes, I think we're gonna get another episode that is like a full characterization. Like, I feel like we might have another person come in. It's like getting a little stale. We do have at the end of this. I don't know if you watched.
I didn't watch it.
You never watched
it.
Yeah. It looks like it's gonna be Looking Glass, so I think we're gonna have a full characterization on him. I don't know if it's gonna be just completely him, or maybe there'll be someone else, but like, it looks like he's gonna be a large part of it. And I think we've kind of gotten hints that we saw his bunker. We saw about the squid thing. So maybe we're gonna find a little bit more about the squid conspiracy. Maybe figure out a little more what's going on the inside. And also, I think he is definitely. We've talked about this before. Like, he's not in some of the cavalry, but like the cult of Rorschach, I think he definitely is a member of.
He has definitely parallels to Rorschach, like with the beans thing, and just he just seems like a really interesting character.
Yeah,
and if they actually go the route of like how they did Silk Spectre, where they like focus on him, I'm all for it because it's weird. He's not had much screen time if we probably like added up, but he's by far one of the most interesting characters.
Yeah,
so
100%.
I'm stoked.
Well, that's all I have for this episode. Like I said, I can't wait for the next one. I don't think you can either. Remember to get subscribed to the podcast. You can get it wherever you find great podcasts, on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or on Google Play. You can also see us on YouTube if you're not watching us there already. What's wrong with you? You get to see our beautiful faces, and you get to see all of the images that we pull in the background, because this is one where you really want to kind of see what's going on at the same time. But make sure you subscribe as soon as we go ahead and launch the episode, which is as soon as we can feasibly, possibly get it all up, record it, and edit it for you guys. We throw it up there. You'll be the first to know. You can watch it on your way on your commute in the morning, because you want to talk about this stuff, and most people aren't talking about this, right? I mean, you talk about this at work, and people look at you like you're a little weird.
Yeah. Oh, people will ask me because like they've heard me talking about it, and they'll go like, "Should I watch this?" I'm like, like I normally that would mean a big insult to the show.
Yeah.
But for this show specifically, I feel like there's this special, like not a special, but a specific type of person.
Yeah.
That
you're kind of like,
would enjoy.
I don't know if I want you to watch it. 100%. Well, with that, make sure you're subscribed, and hopefully this next one's great. If it all blows up on us, we'll be there to talk about it as well. But we'll be there through it thick and thin. But as always, I'm Corey.
And I'm Eric.
And this has been Perfectly Honest.